There is something she has been sharing with you that she does not share with anyone else. And the reason you haven't recognized it yet is because it doesn't look the way you expect love to look. Most people imagine love announces itself. They expect a woman who feels deeply to become more expressive, more obvious, more forthcoming with affection in ways that are easy to read. And sometimes that happens. But more often, the deepest signal a woman sends when she has genuinely fallen for someone is not louder than everything else. It is quieter, it is more selective. It lives in what she chooses to make visible to you and you alone. You have probably been on the receiving end of this already. There have been moments in conversation with her, moments that felt different from conversations you have with other people, where something she said or shared or showed you carried a weight you couldn't quite name, where you walked away with the sense that you had just been trusted with something, even if you couldn't identify what. That feeling was not imagination. What she has been offering you is something she guards carefully from everyone else. Not because she is secretive, but because some parts of ourselves are only safe in the hands of someone we have already quietly decided to love. The question I want you to hold for the next few minutes is this. What if she has already been handing you something she has never given another person, and you have been receiving it without knowing what it actually means? By the end of this video, you will be able to look back at what she has shared with you and understand with clarity what it was telling you all along. Most men are waiting for a woman to say the words, but a woman who is genuinely in love does something far more revealing long before the words ever arrive. She starts letting you into rooms she keeps locked for everyone else. This distinction matters more than most people realize because interest and love produce fundamentally different behavior when it comes to sharing. A woman who is interested in you will share things that present her well. She will be engaging, warm, and open. But the openness is curated. She shows you the version of herself that she is comfortable being seen. This is not manipulation. It is the natural self-protective behavior of someone who has not yet fully decided. A woman who loves you shares differently. The curation begins to break down. What psychologists describe as selective vulnerability, the deeply human tendency to protect our inner life from most people while extending rare access only to those we have already emotionally designated as safe, begins to operate in reverse. Instead of protecting herself from you, she starts revealing herself to you, not all at once and not always consciously, but in a way that accumulates over time into something unmistakable once you know what you are looking at. The reason most men miss this is straightforward. They are watching for the obvious, declarations, gestures, stated feelings. They are not watching for access. They do not register what it means when she tells them something she has never told anyone else, because they have no framework for understanding the rarity of what they are receiving. She is not waiting for a grand moment to show you how she feels. She has already been showing you in the specific things she chooses to share. Of course, sharing the loan is not the complete signal. The content matters. The category of what she shares is everything. And that is exactly where this goes next. Once you understand that love changes what a woman makes visible, the next question is the one that actually matters. What specific things does she begin sharing that she would never share otherwise? She talks about fears with a lot of people. She tells friends she is nervous about a work presentation or anxious about a family situation. But there is a different category of fear, one she almost never speaks aloud, and when she shares it with you, something significant has already shifted inside her. There is a version of fear that is socially acceptable and relatively safe to disclose. These are the fears that generate sympathy, that people can relate to, that do not expose the core of who you are. Everyone has them, and most people are comfortable sharing them in the right context. But underneath that layer sits something different. Fears that touch identity. Fears about whether she is truly lovable, whether she is too much or not enough, whether the things she wants out of life are reasonable or foolish, whether the person she is when no one is watching is someone worth knowing. These fears do not come out in casual conversation. They emerge only when a woman has already made an internal decision that this person is someone who can hold what she is about to reveal without using it against her. When she shares this kind of fear with you, when she says something like, "I sometimes worry that I am harder to love than I seem," or "I don't actually know if I am as capable as people think I am," she is not making small talk. She is extending something she does not extend freely. The specific language varies, but the emotional fingerprint is consistent. It is unguarded, it is real, and it leaves her slightly more exposed than she intended to be. Watch what happens right after she says something like this. There is often a brief pause, a moment where she has registered that she went further than she planned and is now quietly watching to see how you respond. That pause is not nothing. She is not waiting for advice. She is waiting to see whether you are someone who can receive vulnerability without flinching from it or rushing to fix it. Now, you might be thinking, couldn't she just be someone who overshares in general? And sometimes, yes. Some people are naturally more disclosing across all relationships. But what you are listening for is not the volume of disclosure, it is the category. Is she sharing fears that could embarrass her? Fears that reveal something she would prefer you not know if things ended badly? That is the category that matters. That is the signal. The common mistake men make when a woman shares this kind of fear is to immediately try to resolve it, to reassure her too quickly, to explain why she shouldn't feel that way. The intention is good, but what she needed in that moment was not a solution. She needed to feel that the fear didn't change how you see her. Moving too fast to fix it can communicate that the disclosure made you uncomfortable, which is the opposite of what she was hoping for. Her fears tell you she trusts you with her vulnerability. But the second thing she shares goes even deeper. It tells you she trusts you with her identity. Every woman maintains a version of herself that almost no one sees. Not because she is being dishonest, but because that version feels too unguarded, too real, too much. When she loves someone, that version starts to leak through. And once you know what it looks like, you will recognize it immediately. What psychologists refer to as the authentic self, the layer of personality that exists beneath social presentation, is something most people protect with significant care. This is not deception. It is the natural result of living in a world where being fully seen carries real risk. Most people have learned, through experience, that not every version of themselves is safe to show in every context. So they manage, they present. When a woman begins to love someone, this management starts to sleep. Not dramatically and not all at once, but in specific, observable ways. You will hear her say something unexpected, something that doesn't fit the version of herself she usually presents, and then watch a flicker of recognition cross her face, the awareness that she just showed you something she doesn't usually show. You will notice her laughing in a way that is less controlled than her usual laugh, less performed, more real. You will catch her holding an opinion with more force than she typically allows herself, or admitting to something she finds embarrassing without the usual deflection she uses with everyone else. These are not random moments. They are the authentic self surfacing, because in the presence of someone she loves, the effort required to keep it submerged becomes greater than the risk of letting it be seen. Before we move to the next layer, there is something worth pausing on here, because this is the signal that is most frequently misread in the wrong direction. When she starts showing you this more unguarded version of herself, it can sometimes feel like the relationship is becoming less special, less polished. Some men interpret the dropping of her composed presentation as a loss of something, when what is actually happening is the opposite. She is not becoming less, she is becoming real. That shift only happens with someone she has decided is worth being real with. Remember what I said at the start, that she has been handing you something she has never given to anyone else, and that you may have been receiving it without understanding its value. This is one of those moments. The unguarded version of her is not the default version. It is the rare one, and you are seeing it. She has shown you who she actually is. But the third thing she shares is the one most men receive without any awareness at all. And it may be the most significant of everything. This is the one that will make you look back at moments you thought were completely ordinary and understand them entirely differently. Because the most revealing thing a woman in love shares with someone is not words, it is her quiet. Most people think of sharing as an active thing, something said, something disclosed, something offered through language. But the deepest form of sharing a woman extends to someone she loves is the sharing of her silence. Not awkward silence, not the silence of someone who has run out of things to say. The specific, particular silence of someone who is fully present with another person and does not feel the need to fill the space between them. Psychologists who study attachment and intimacy describe this as companionate comfort, the capacity to be with someone without performing for them, without managing the atmosphere, without monitoring how you are being perceived. It is in many ways the final frontier of emotional trust, because silence exposes everything that conversation can still conceal. In silence, there is no curated response, no prepared version of yourself. There is only what you actually are in this moment next to this person. A woman who is merely interested in you will rarely offer this. Around someone she is still assessing, still managing her impression with, silence feels like a risk. It might be read as boredom or coldness or lack of engagement. So she fills it. She keeps the conversation moving. She maintains the warmth through words. When she loves you, something changes. You will notice it in the moments that used to feel like they needed to be filled and no longer do. She sits with you in a car and doesn't feel the need to speak. She's next to you in a room and the quiet between you has a quality to it. Not empty, but full. You might have registered this as a comfortable silence without knowing what produced it. What produced it was trust so complete that the performance has stopped entirely. Watch specifically for the moments when she allows a long pause after saying something real. When she shares something that mattered and then simply lets it sit between you, without rushing to qualify it or lighten it or redirect the conversation. That is not carelessness. That is the behavior of someone who trusts that what she said will be held carefully and who loves you enough to find out whether she is right. Of course, some people are naturally quieter and more comfortable with silence in general. Context always matters here. What you are looking for is not silence as a personality trait. It is silence that is specifically present with you and not replicated equally in her behavior with everyone else. Directional silence. Silence that orients toward you. The mistake most men make with this signal is the simplest one. They don't notice it at all. They are so focused on what is being said that they completely miss what is being shared in the spaces between. And in missing those spaces, they miss some of the clearest evidence of how she actually feels. Understanding what her silence means changes everything, because now you are not waiting for her to perform love. You are recognizing it in the moments where it was already fully present. Everything we have covered in this video points toward one overarching truth, that a woman in love does not primarily show you how she feels through what she says. She shows you through what she is willing to let you see, her unguarded fears, the version of herself she protects from the world, and the quiet she only shares with someone who has earned it. None of these are performances. None of them can be sustained artificially for long. They are the natural byproduct of a decision she has already made, a decision that existed inside her before she may have even named it to herself. You now have something that most men spend years without. Not a trick, not a technique, but a genuine framework for understanding what she has been communicating all along. You can look back at specific moments with her and read them now with accuracy. Not interpretation, not hope. Clarity. You do not need to turn this into an analysis of every conversation. You do not need to audit every silence or catalog every disclosure. What you have now is a quieter kind of awareness, the kind that lets you recognize something real when it is happening instead of walking past it. Think about the woman you had in mind when you clicked on this video. Which of these has she shared with you? Drop the words she showed me in the comments. I read every one. If this channel gives you the kind of insight you want to keep coming back to, real psychology explained clearly, without the noise, subscribe. There is a lot more ahead. In the next video, I'm going to show you what happens when a woman who loves someone starts to feel invisible. The quiet shift in her behavior that begins before she says a single word about it, and what it means if you are seeing it right now.